What inspired the founding of Liberty Health Clinics, and how has that mission evolved over time?
So Liberty Health Clinic started one from my passion in menopause care. So it's something I've always been interested in, loved helping women. And then I think that need just grew as I saw the gender health gap out there, women who were struggling, who were being dismissed more by their doctors, by, not even understanding their own symptoms. And I think it actually grew from there, that need to actually help close that gender health gap. And women's health was something I've always been interested in.
Can you share some of the initial challenges that you faced during the clinic's establishment, and how do you overcome those challenges?
So I think the first challenge that I came across was CQC, getting regulated. And, these are things that you're just not taught about in medical school. So, just understanding the jargon for one, understanding all the regulations, and then coming across, during the interview, just knowing how to answer some of the questions was, it was tricky. For me, actually getting my CQC was my first major accomplishment that I was really proud of. And then came all the other hurdles that, again, you're just not taught about at medical school. So marketing, that in itself is a minefield. And I think as doctors, I think we're all about our patients. We're all about doing the best for our patients, but we're a little bit shy. We're a little bit, we don't like to, brag about our accomplishments and us. And what I learned through this whole entrepreneurial process is that you have to sell yourself, and you can't be shy. You can't be, very humble. You have to actually let the world know what you can offer them. Otherwise, they're not going to come to you. So that took me a while to really understand and learn and be okay with. And then, yeah, just being in front of the camera. Oh my God, social media was probably my biggest personal challenge. I hate being in front of a camera, hate the sound of my own voice. So having to overcome that and being okay with that was probably one of my own personal hurdles. And it does get easier. And, I'd say to people out there who are just starting that journey, you don't have to be perfect. You can be authentically your own human self that makes mistakes on camera. And, again, I talk about brain fog with my patients. The number of words that I forget when I'm actually trying to do a reel, it's okay. It's never perfect, but it's okay. So those were a few of my challenges. And yeah, just understanding business in itself. I don't have an MBA. I literally have done my medical degree and then done degrees in physiology and then my advanced certificate in menopause care, and I've done diplomas in women's health. But at no point, does that teach you how to run a business. So again, reaching out to people who've been in business, taking advice, getting things wrong. Actually, it's okay. Making mistakes is how you learn. And yeah, it's definitely a roller coaster, but one that, I think you do start to see the fruits of as time goes by.
Yeah, absolutely. What role does community engagement play in your medical clinic's growth strategy?
So I think as a woman from an ethnic minority, I've seen actually that the health gaps are wider within that community itself. So again, it's one of the passions of mine to be able to reach communities, like harder to reach communities like women from ethnic minorities. I do a lot of outreach work, education around menopause, around women's health, in my free time, to educate the community and try and help those women who just, aren't able to access the right care. So that's probably in my local community. Then just as a whole, I educate GPs. I give menopause talks because again, that community in itself, we are amazing, but we are not specialists. So to be an expert in everything is really, really difficult. So one of the things that I do is I do talks with our local menopause, with our GPs, educating them about hormone replacement therapy, how to prescribe this safely, complex scenarios. And I think, they find that really beneficial because again, you can't possibly know it all, but it does help to be able to have someone who they can refer to for more difficult cases.
So, in today's digital age, how important is marketing to your practice's growth, and what methods or platforms have been the most effective for promoting Liberty Health Clinics?
I think marketing is key. So personally, I've found just getting myself out there, talks, podcasts, meeting people, and word of mouth really is key. So just actually selling your expertise in a podcast really helps your clients know what your USP is and what you're able to offer them. And it also gets a sense of who you are. I think what I found is that different people will connect with different healthcare professionals. There are different things that people are looking for. It might be a different personality type or a specific area of expertise. So actually getting that out there in the form of a talk or a podcast is a great way of doing that. The other thing I think is really, really key is reviews, the testimonials. Again, it's so important, I think, for people to know that, that the person that they are booking in to see is qualified, but it's also, has positive feedback. So yeah, I think it just makes clients feel more safe when they're seeing you, that there's been positive feedback and good reviews.
Yeah, 100%. And then I think that obviously privatization of medicine is happening somewhat quite quickly. So how do you stay ahead of competitors and differentiate yourself in a crowded marketplace that is now the private medical sector?
I think it's really key. And I think one of the things I do anyway is to stay really up to date. So being ahead of, being aware of the latest guidance, what's new in the menopause market, and also just knowing, what people are talking about, what's relevant. And I think that's what differentiates you. If you're able to understand that and give your clients what it is they're looking for, that's really important.
You also mentioned patient feedback and testimonials reviews on the previous answer. I want to ask you more question about that. Like, how do you gather and incorporate patient feedback into the growth of your private medical clinic?
So it's something that I will always get feedback on. So make sure I'm getting a review or a testimonial, and then it's something that I will put on my website. It's something that I will signpost clients to, making sure it's visible to prospective clients. Yeah, I think it's usually done in quite a subtle way, but it's making sure that it's visible really. And one of the first things that your patient will click on, or your prospective patient or prospective client will click on, is those reviews.
Nice. And do you do anything to incorporate it into the way there's a way you collect it and use it to make decisions?
So it's done quite it's done via a protocol where they get sent an email and they get sent a text message to leave feedback. Um, I don't. Yeah, I mean, I probably should do more with it. Is what I'm hearing from you.
Yeah, no, I'm just curious to know if that's the part. But yeah, definitely, I think it's helpful. I think it's definitely just for feedback for improvement of the clinic. That's why. But yeah, no, 100%. Okay, awesome, fine. I want to ask about AI stuff because I think that's always really interesting now. How do you see the role of AI and other emerging tech transforming medical practices in the next coming years?
So we're already seeing it for time saving. So as a HSGP as well and a busy private doctor, note taking, it can be quite tedious. It can be, it can be quite arduous. And having AI in the mix to help transcribe our notes it's invaluable. And I found that actually the combination of me and the AI is the best way of getting the most thorough notes. And often the AI will catch things that I've forgotten to catch within a conversation. Time saving for one, but also for our clients, I think to be able to access information and us to deliver that information to them, there's more than one way now. And we're finding more and more effective means of patient follow-ups, and getting all the information that a client needs and making it personalized to them, which is key. So I think we're going to see huge leaps and bounds in this area. And I can see it being a really, really useful tool going forwards.
Yeah, agreed. Agreed. Yeah, definitely no data is the biggest one. I think a lot of doctors are using, so it makes sense. How do you ensure a high level of patient experience from the moment they walk through your practice's door?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that's something that we are constantly working on and trying to improve. So for me anyway, it's the level of attention to detail that we try and maintain. So it's multiple touch points. They need to feel listened to. They need to feel cared for. So it's not just myself. I work as part of a team, and it starts from the moment they send the first email. The response that they get. We try and make sure that every email is responded to very quickly and in a warm, caring manner, because I think that means so much to someone who is struggling with a health condition. And then there's multiple check-in points. So even after they've seen me, there will be, just even if it's an email, just to say, have you started your medication and have you had any side effects? Is there anything you want to talk about? And then a few weeks later, it'll be just another check-in to make sure that they are improving. And there'll be a follow up from either myself or my secretary, will just make sure that whether they need to book in again. And there are various points that within the client journey that they should get follow ups. So making sure that they are receiving those follow ups. And I think, yeah, just making sure our patients are being heard, and if there are any issues, that they're being listened to.
Yeah, 100%. No, I love that. That's a really good page, Jenny, actually. Okay, amazing. By the way, I was looking through your website as well, and I was thinking about some other questions. But honestly, I just love your branding. So I want to ask you a question about branding. How important is branding for a private medical practice, and how have you approached building your brand?
Yes, this was something that was completely new to me. I had never thought about branding until I started my own business. And I realized, actually, when you're buying a product or a service, within seconds from the feel, of the moment you land on a website, the colors, the warmth, the pictures. There's within seconds, if they're for you. So for me, when I thought about Liberty Health, I knew that it needed to be a classy, definitely a warm but approachable service that people felt safe in, yet they knew they were getting a high-end service. So I looked at colors, I looked at designs that resonated with that high-end but caring branding that Liberty Health, endeavors to be. And yeah, I'm really pleased with it. I'm really pleased with the feel and the branding that we've got so far. It obviously needs tweaks, and it's something we're constantly endeavoring to improve on. But yeah, we're getting there.
What advice would you give to other doctors looking to grow their own private practice?
So I think the first piece of advice is, don't give up. There will definitely be hurdles, and there will be big lows, but there'll be bigger highs to make up for it. You will make mistakes, and that's okay. And I think definitely the culture as a medical profession is that we're not allowed to make mistakes. But when it comes to business, you will make mistakes, and that's okay. And we learn from them, and we pick ourselves up, and we learn. And yeah, I think it's just that end goal. Just don't forget the end goal and focus on that, because even if it takes time, it's definitely achievable.
Yeah, 100%. I love that. Yeah, you can't lose if you don't quit. Like, it's just not possible to lose. Like, as long as you don't quit, you can never lose. So yeah, I love that. Love that. I say the same thing. And then yeah, my last question is, like, can you discuss your long-term vision for your practice, and how do you plan to scale the business in the future?
So yeah, the long-term vision is that we grow. We have multiple clinics. My love of women's health and that ability to reach women is what drives me. So what I want to do is, obviously, I don't want to compromise on quality and that. And at the moment, we are growing the one clinic and making sure we get that absolutely spot on and right, and we deliver the best care possible to women. And as I think the future, what we want to do is then be able to deliver that on a wider scale. So yeah, watch this space, and I'm hoping we can achieve that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Amazing.